What, from your perspective, can you as an FCC commissioner do? Is it about speaking out, or what action can you take?
Yeah, we have some expertise and experience in this area at the FCC. We've dealt with Huawei, ZTE, China Mobile, a lot of companies with ties back to communist China that are involved with nefarious data flows. That's why I'm speaking out. In the main, though, the action here is going to come from the Biden administration. The Treasury Department, CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment, has been reviewing this for almost 2 years now. I think the reality is the tide really has been moving out on TikTok. I think it's had a very bad 2 months, and I think it's shifted now from a question of whether there's going to be some sort of ban or decoupling of TikTok from Beijing to a question of when that takes place. Now, TikTok is still spending a lot of money, millions of dollars, to avoid that, but I definitely think things are moving in the wrong direction for TikTok.
What about the direction from the administration? Do you think it will ultimately be them and CFIUS, the focus there, or is it actually going to be Congress? Because we actually see across the aisle some agreement here.
Yeah, it could be both. As you mentioned, there's bipartisan legislation now in Congress, bicameral actually in the House. Last Congress, Republican Gallagher, Democrat Krishnamurthy, representatives have a bill that would ban TikTok nationwide. Obviously, the bipartisan agreement to ban TikTok nationwide on federal devices, and we have almost 30 states now that have done it. It could be the Biden administration ultimately that takes the final action here. I think it should be. There's precedent for this. We've used CFIUS before to unwind the purchase of Grindr based on having connections back to a Beijing-based entity. India has banned TikTok across their entire country. So I think that's the right direction to go here.
Commissioner Carr, good evening to you. With massive respect to your office, the FCC does not have a power or a remit to take action on this. So who are you backing to take action? Who do you think at a federal or state level actually sees some material change when it comes to regulating TikTok?
Yeah, I think FCC officials, we do have some expertise here, again, when it deals with companies that have ties to the CCP and nefarious data flows. But right, in the main, I believe this is an issue that the Treasury Department should take a look at. Really, I think the biggest leader on this has been Democrat chairman of Senate Intel Committee, Mark Warner. He has said that, quote, TikTok scares the dickens out of him, and he's been working with Senator Rubio and others on this. So it could be Treasury, it could be Federal Trade Commission, or as we talked about earlier, there's a lot of interest in the House, bipartisan interest in taking action there. So I think it's going to come from action on several fronts, states included. I don't anticipate this will be a core FCC issue itself, though.
Yes. Commissioner, you mentioned India. We went to our audience and asked them if they felt that what they saw, the action taken in India, could be replicated here in the United States. 77% of respondents said yes. It sets an important precedent. Does the action taken in India set an important precedent?
I think so. It's a really strong precedent. India is obviously the world's largest democracy. So I think taking action in that context is very instructive. And again, there's two main issues here. There's national security, but also mental health. On the national security side, TikTok came clean just last month and said, yes, in fact, they had been surveilling the locations of specific U.S. reporters who are writing negative stories about TikTok. That's sort of a nightmare scenario. Remember, we're at a point in time where TikTok has been engaged in negotiations with CFIUS, where they have every reason to be on their best behavior, and yet they were engaged in that type of nefarious conduct. Trust is the most important thing right now when you're trying to negotiate with the government. And if I was in the Biden administration at CFIUS, I'd be really disappointed if I had this draft agreement with TikTok that was in place over the summer, and you see this subsequent conduct. I think it just shows that I just don't see a path forward where you could cut a deal that will put airtight protections in place.
So ultimately, you feel a ban is the only way. It's interesting, the EU before was sort of not talking as tough, and now in their lexicon, the word ban has become on the tip of their tongue. We've also seen it from India, as we mentioned. Is there no way that a deal could be done with Oracle? No way that TikTok could convince there is a safe way of still continuing to operate in the US?
Yeah, I just don't see it. As you mentioned, Europe is starting to sort of ramp up their activity. Just this week, I think government officials in the Netherlands banned TikTok from federal devices there. Again, it fundamentally comes down to trust. And there was leaked internal communications that Forbes got over the summer, and they showed that a TikTok official said that even if all these protections are put in place, this Project Texas that they talk about a lot that involves Oracle, that according to them, it remains to be seen whether product and engineering, meaning Beijing, could still get access to this data. So if officials inside TikTok aren't certain that these protections are going to be airtight, I don't think that we should think that they would be either. And again, if you look at analysts, one analyst in particular had odds of a TikTok ban at around 10% this summer. And towards the end of last fall, they had upped it to 40%. That was before the bipartisan bill was introduced. That was before you saw some of these recent revelations. So I think things are moving in the wrong way. But again, we'll see. They're spending an awful lot of money to try to stop a ban or a decoupling.
Commissioner, there's one part of this equation we've not discussed, which is the TikTok user here in the United States. Lots of people love using that app. Many have told us they don't understand the risks. They're not well explained. Why should TikTok be banned? How would you justify it to them, those million-plus users that are saying, we want this?
Yeah, again, it's twofold. It's national security and mental health. On the national security side, again, it's pulling all sorts of sensitive data, everything from search and browsing history, keystroke patterns, potentially, according to terms of service, biometrics, which includes face prints and voice prints. And for years, they misrepresented where this was going. Internal communications, again, show that everything is viewed inside China. That's why FBI Director Chris Wray and others are raising the alarm. But the mental health side is interesting as well. There was a recent report cited by New York Times that had accounts set up for 13-year-old girls that within a matter of 30 minutes was showing eating disorder, self-harm content, and flash forward to the version of TikTok that's available in China, Douyin, and it's not showing that. It's showing educational materials, museum exhibits, science experiments. So it's very troubling, both from a national security, data security side, but also the mental health side.
Okay, but the mental health issues have been leveled not just at TikTok, but at homegrown social media platforms. Instagram have often having to respond to such concerns. How, if we ban TikTok and users move perhaps to YouTube Shorts and Instagram, how do we prevent that sort of element happening here?
Yeah, there's a baseline level of privacy protections that we need to put in place. I'm actually open to taking a look at increased age restrictions for social media generally. A lot of this, to your point, goes to social media apps beyond TikTok. Again, I think there's something very unique about TikTok that's exposed by the fact that you can compare what it shows to kids in the U.S. versus kids in China. But I do think there's a broader issue we have to deal with here. It's sort of like how do you eat an elephant, though? It's one bite at a time. I think there's broader data flow concerns that go back to China with all sorts of applications and data brokers. But we've been looking at TikTok for 2 years. We have a big case developed on that. We should take that action. And then I think it makes it easier to then deal with knock-on case and say, well, this is like TikTok. We've dealt with it. That's what we've done in other contexts. Again, we went with Huawei first at the FCC, then ZTE, then China Mobile. I think that's how we sort of approach this broader issue.
Commissioner, I think what we keep hearing is we've been looking at this for 2 years. These things do not work. What I don't think Caroline and I are hearing from people in your position, from the companies, is an actual solution. Are you going to suggest that Apple or Alphabet through Google just don't make the app available through their stores? How are you going to actually make this happen?
Yeah, that's one appetite that I've thrown out there is this idea that you can look at Apple and Google and have them remove it from the App Store. Obviously, India is an example. Grindr is a precedent here in the U.S. where we banned an app through the CFIUS review, or at least in that case required the sale. I think all of those are potential actions that can be taken here. And I think TikTok actually is uniquely replaceable. Again, a lot of parents look at TikTok and they think it's like Facebook or Instagram or another social media where you're following a network of people you know. But in the main, with TikTok, you go on there immediately, you're being fed content from Beijing. So I do think it could be replaced with either another owner or another short form video application relatively quickly.